All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushai, Bashem, Makakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the Akim and a few Akwat who may be listening. This is your brother Batakallah from the GMS camp here in Chicago, coming back at you with another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushai. And Lord willing, this will be an edifying lesson. All right, and hold on one second. This is going to be a response to a clip that one of the elder bros posted in the room. The nigga that made the video's name is Brother Deshone. But basically he was talking about how, the Lord is dealing with everybody and that the covenants that the Lord made is not exclusive to just Israel, who are the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob on your father's side. That's who the Israelites are. So, modern day Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and you speckled birds in the other nations that look like the other nations, but your fathers go back to those lines. But this dude was basically saying that anybody, the kingdom is for anybody. And, all these heathens are going to be on our level in the kingdom as long as they believe in the Christ. And it's straight folly. But we're going to get these precepts, and Lord willing, it'll be edifying. But the first thing I wanted to tackle was that he had mentioned in the video how if we continue to teach, the truth, which is the truth, that, the Lord is only dealing with Israelites and that all these other heathens don't matter. All right, as the scriptures say, these heathens are likened unto a drop that falleth from a vessel or from a bucket. All right, so they're not really, the Lord don't care about them. All right, but he said if we continue to teach this, that we're going to go to hell. All right, and there's no such thing as hell, and I'm just going to prove that real quick. All right, once you pass or you give up the ghost, once your spirit leaves your body, you go to the spirit world, your spirit goes back to the Lord. All right. And it's the same for everybody. Good, evil, it doesn't matter. When you go to the Lord, you receive your judgment, and then you live out that judgment on the earth in your next lifetime. All right, but we're going to get this precept. This is Ecclesiastes 3:19. It says, "For that which befalleth the sons of men befalleth beasts, even one thing befalleth them. As the one dieth, so dieth the other. Yea, they have all one breath, so that man hath no preeminence above beasts, for all is vanity." So this is letting you know that, we are not, above even the beast. Now, of course, we know the Lord gave us a higher office in the earth, but, we're all of the Lord. The Lord made all of us. All right. Let's keep going. This verse 20, it says, "All go unto one place. All are of the dust, and all turn to the dust again." And the point is that all go unto one place. So when you die, your spirit goes to the same place, whether it's an animal, whether it's a human, whether the human was wicked or righteous, it don't matter. When you give up the ghost, your spirit goes back to the Lord. You receive your judgment, and then you play your judgment out when you are sent back down to the earth in your next lifetime. All right. So there is no such thing as hell. And, these Christians, they like to throw that around and scare people. But that's just a scare tactic that the Catholic Church created to control people and get people to give them money, etc. All right. There's no such thing as hell. When you die, you go back to the Lord. Everybody does, even the wicked, even Edomites. When they die, their spirit goes back to the Lord. And then, they rest for 2-3 generations. And then the Lord sends them back down here and you live out your judgment. All right. But now we're going to get to this next point that he was making, talking about how the Lord made a covenant with Adam. And, basically, he was referring to the covenant that was made with Abraham, really, which is that his seed. Salaki, let me just see if I can find it. Hold on. This is what he was talking about. Let me just see if I can find the actual verse. Salakia. Here it is. So this is the covenant that he was referring to. This is Genesis 15:18. It says, "In the same day Yahweh made a covenant with Abram, saying, Unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river Euphrates. Now, when he read this, he said that it doesn't, it says that it would be given to the seed of Abraham, which, Abraham had many children, as the father of many nations, not just the Israelites. All right. And basically he was saying that meant that it didn't just include the Israelites, it included all of Abraham's children, as long as you accept the Christ. All right. And then he tried to tie that back into Adam and Noah, and Adam and Noah as well, basically trying to use that as a way to include everybody, because all the people that are on the earth today descend from Adam. All the people that are on the earth today obviously descend from Noah, being that Noah is a descendant of Adam, and then Noah, after the flood, reestablished humanity basically through his family. And so trying to include everybody based off of that, but that's not how the Lord is operating. But we're gonna get this first, because guess what? Adam had sons. Adam had Cain and Abel, and then later also had Seth. And all of Adam's sons were not, the Lord wasn't dealing with all of them. All right. And we're going to prove that. This is Genesis 4:1. It says, And Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. And she again bare his brother Abel, and Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. So this is establishing that Adam and Eve had two sons at this particular time, Cain and Abel. All right, let's keep going. It says, in the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto Yahweh. And Abel also he brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And Yahweh had respect unto Abel and his offering, but unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And see, at this time, the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai were not in writing yet, but we still had the oral record of that. And, Adam taught his sons how to serve the Lord, told them how they had to make sacrifices to the Lord. All right. Adam made the proper sacrifice with the firstling of his flock, and Cain tried to bring whatever he wanted to bring, and the Lord wasn't dealing with that. All right. This is verse 6. It says, and Yahweh said unto Cain, Why art thou wroth, and why is thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted, and if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. So Cain didn't bring the right sacrifice, even though he was instructed on what he was supposed to do. And then when the Lord rebuked him for that, he was mad about it. All right, he caught an attitude, because he wanted to do what he wanted to do. He didn't want to do things the way that the Lord said to do it. All right, and through the spirit, Cain is the same spirit. The spirit of Cain is the same spirit that that Esau had, and that these devils have, in today's modern time, because they are descendants of that spirit. All right. This is because Cain or Esau is Cain in the reincarnation, and then out of Esau came all these Edomites today. All right. But this is verse 7. This is verse 8. And Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and slew him. So Cain was so jealous and salty, because he wanted to do things his way, but Abel did things the correct way, and the Lord blessed Abel for that, and was happy with Abel for doing the right thing. And so Cain got so mad and so hurt that he decided that he was going to commit murder and kill Abel. All right. And murder Abel, excuse me. All right. And it's the same spirit that these devils got today. That's why they always killing Jake. These devils' ultimate plan is to try to get Jake out of the earth so they can get their blessing back that they believe was supposed to be theirs as Esau. All right. But the Lord didn't have that planned out for them. But these devils got a perpetual hatred for us, and it goes all the way back to this time, man. All right, let's keep going. It says, and Yahweh said unto Cain, Where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. Okay, so guess what? Abel killed Cain, the Lord, or Salaki, Cain killed Abel. The Lord questioned Cain about it. Cain, caught a smart guy, had an attitude, had a smart aleck mentality about it. But the Lord knew what happened. First of all, the Lord sees everything. And second of all, like mentioned before, when you give up the ghost, your spirit goes back to the Lord. Abel's spirit went back to the Lord and told the Lord what happened, even though the Lord already knew. All right. It says, verse 11, and now thou art cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth. And that's the same thing that's going on unto this day. This devil doesn't have his own shit. He's always running around, going into everybody else's shit, moving from place to place, changing his identity. All right, first he was the Romans, then first he said he was the Greeks, then he said he was the Romans, then he said he was the white man. All right, everything but Esau. That's who these devils are, because they're vagabonds and fugitives. They trying to hide their identity. All right, because they're the wicked. But and it says, verse 13, it says, and Cain said unto the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear. So once he had to receive his judgment for what he did, he started crying like a punk. Same thing that Esau did when Isaac told him that he gave the blessing to Jacob. Start crying like a little punk when Esau had already given the blessing up, But like I said, the Lord didn't have it set up to where Esau was ever going to get the blessing, and because of this right here, this is in part because of this right here, because that's the same spirit. Esau's spirit is the same is Cain, bro. It's the same spirit back in the reincarnation. All right. But let me read this next verse again. Salakia, it says, verse 14, thou hast driven me out of this day. Salakia, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from the face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth, and it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. And Yahweh said unto him, therefore, whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And Yahweh set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. All right, so Cain, the Lord has put a covering over the spirit of Cain, which, like I said, is these Edomites in the modern day, because Cain's spirit was reincarnated into Esau, and then Esau is the progenitor of all these modern day Edomites. All right. So the Lord put a covering on these devils. That's why when you everywhere they go, if somebody comes against them, you get jacked up, man. All right. If Jake kill an Edomite, they try to kill that Jake 10 times over. OK, if you do anything to an Edomite, you're punished severely. All right. Especially if you do anything that physically harm an Edomite, where in comparison, if an Edomite does something to somebody else that's not an Edomite, it's very minimal, the punishment that they receive. And that's because the Lord is preserving these devils for Yahweh Shai to come back and take them out for good. And until that time comes, these devils have a job to do. So the Lord put a covering over them so that they can carry out their job. All right. This is but I say that to say this. All right. All the descendants of Adam are not chosen. All right. Cain was not chosen. Esau was not chosen. None of these other heathens were chosen. You have to be an Israelite. The Israelites are the chosen people. You Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and you speckled bird, once again, whose father's line goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All right. Not Abraham, Isaac, and Esau. Not Abraham and Ishmael. All right. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All right. This is Romans chapter 9 and verse 7. It says, neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children, but in Isaac shall thy seed be called. So guess what? Abraham is the father of many nations, but only through Isaac and Jacob is the blessing given. All right. Let's keep reading. Verse 8, it says, that is they which are the children of the flesh. These are not the children of Yahweh, but the children of the promise are counted for the seed. Because Abraham has many children. All right. There are certain people who are children of Abraham based on the flesh, but the Lord is not dealing with them. All right. Once again, Ishmael. All right. Elam would be a descendant of Abraham. Moab and Ammon are descendants of Abraham. A lot of these heathens are. But that doesn't mean that the Lord called to them, man. The Lord is only dealing with you Israelites. All right. This is verse 9. It says, for this is the word of promise. At this time will I come, and Sarah shall have a son. And not only this, but when Rebekah also had conceived by one, even by our father Isaac, for the children being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of Yahweh according to the election might stand, not of works, but of him that calleth. All right. And this is referring to, Jacob and Esau. When they were born, before they were even born, it was already decided who the Lord was going to get a blessing to. All right. But this is Romans chapter 9 and verse 1. It says, I say the truth in Hamashiach, I lie not. My conscience also bearing me witness in the Holy Ghost that I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Hamashiach for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh. So Apostle Paul is saying this to Israelites, people that's Israelites by blood. All right. Verse 4, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of Yahweh and the promises. All right. So this all pertains to Israelites. The Lord is not dealing with nobody else. These promises, these laws, statutes, and commandments, these covenants, all these things were given to the Israelites exclusively. And that's what this is saying here. All right. Verse 5, whose are the fathers, and of whom as concerning the flesh Hamashiach came, who is over all, Yahweh blessed forever. Amen. All right. So Yahweh Shai only is coming back for Israelites. He's not coming back for everybody else, despite what these people tell you. And as far as all of these dudes that's coming out with these doctrines, it's all about money, man. When you're trying to include all these other nations that this don't got nothing to do with, it's because you want their money. When you come out with these women-friendly doctrines, it's because you want their money. All right, these dudes will say all of this stuff, but won't bring out no precepts. Don't go out and teach. You don't know where this nigga got his. You don't know who taught this nigga. All right, he don't got no videos. He ain't got no proof that he out here street teaching, because these niggas don't do that. This is just some guy talking on the internet saying stuff, trying to get money. All right. And then these guys don't even, not that we here to debate with anybody, but they're not even putting themselves in a position where they have to defend this shit that they talking about with real precepts against somebody that really knows what they talking about. And it is what it is. Like I said, we're going to cut these niggas like how we doing now with a little response video, and that's it. We're not going back and forth with niggas and doing debates and all that shit like these other camps are doing. But these jakes that's coming out with this bugged out ass shit are fucking crazy. And it don't even make sense, because you're not a partaker in this devil's kingdom, but you want to bring everybody else in on our blessing. And the Lord ain't dealing with that. All right. And all these jakes that come out with these fake doctrines, the Lord is going to fucking kill them, man. And it's going to be grievous. All right. So with that being said, we're going to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushai, Bashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the Akim and a few Akwath who may be listening. Lord willing, this was an edifying lesson. Until next time, Shalom and Abba Ball. Kwam Yasharallah.